The book felt disturbingly like skin, warm and slightly textured. Elias Graves turned the page, a faint shimmer pulsing from the edges of the book as if it were breathing. Page 5. Weather A forecast of winds and tides. He skipped it for now. Page 6. Status window. Name Elias Graves. Status healthy. A wireframe of the human body glowing entirely green. Average adult stats are 5. With effort, they can be trained up to 10. A stat of 10 marks the human limit. Strength 3, 0/50. Willpower 7 + 1, 0/8000. Agility 4, 0/100. Endurance 3, 0/50. Perception 5, 0/200. Sanity 100/100. O below 50, mild madness begins. O below 30, suicidal ideation likely. O below 10, irreversible consequences. Stamina 100/100. Below 50, fatigue. Below 30, risk of fainting. A vitality 100/100. Innate trait, iron will. You do not yield, ever. Your maximum willpower is increased by 1. Your sanity will never drop below 1. You cannot commit suicide. If your sanity falls below 50, you do not despair, you go mad. Elias exhaled slowly. His stats were low, yes, but the experience needed to improve them seemed manageable. He still had a fighting chance. He turned a few more pages. Page 7, communication interface. There were 3 active channels. World chat, region chat, private messages. World chat was exploding with activity. Text streamed in faster than he could read. Anyone here? Where the hell are we?
Bro, I was on the toilet, didn't even wipe. And now I'm on AF **** kinda raft. There's nobody around me. If anyone has a phone, call for help. You messed with the wrong guy. Do you know who my father is? Maybe your dad got pulled in too, rich boy. Son, is that you? Don't make this weirder than it already is, man. My fractured arm just healed instantly. This hurts like hell. It's not a dream. A quick glance at the user count, billions online. Elias frowned. It wasn't just him. The whole world was here, but he stayed silent. For now, he read carefully, watching for useful clues, signals, codes, patterns. Anything to help him survive. A CH person could only send 10 messages per day in the world chat. Exceeding the limit would cost seashell coins, 100 coins per extra message. Elias Graves had no idea what seashell coins were. He didn't have any either. About 10 minutes passed. The chaotic chatter in world chat began to slow, and more meaningful conversations started to emerge. Does everyone else have 7 rules in their manual too? Looking to team up. Anyone want to form a group? Too far apart.
No coordinates.
We can't team up right now. We should share intel and help each other survive. Did anyone inspect their ship? I found a piece of gear. A message followed, displaying the item stats. Name, bloodstained harpoon. Type, relic. Quality, fine. Item tiers. Common, fine, superior, rare, epic, heroic, master. Description, very sharp. Can deal minor damage to eldritch entities, but will enrage them.
Warning, warning. Using relics carries a risk of reducing your sanity.
The world chat exploded again.
Wait, eldritch entities. There are monsters in this world. I didn't find any weapons, just some fresh water, bread, and veggies. You got veggies. I only found sausages. In the open sea, vegetables were far more valuable than meat. How big are your ships? Mine's over 100 meters long. Too big to handle. What? My boat's only 10 meters. The players shared their ship's info. Ship name, Iron Will. Level 1. Durability 5000/5000. Capacity 8,000 units. Speed 5 knots. Ship skills. Full broadside, cannon fire rate increased by 200% for 15 minutes. Triple strike Leviathan harpoon pierces and anchors any object struck. Description: it might not be fast, but you'd better be. What the hell? His ship has cannons at level 1. Must be a special ship. Mine's a complete blank slate. Can we re-roll our starter? Is there a cash shop? I've got plenty of money. You guys are missing the point. His ship only moves at 5 knots. That's slower than the Black Mist, right? The Black Mist moves at 10 knots. That guy's doomed. Ha ha ha. Then, a new system announcement appeared. Navigation notice. All starting conditions are unique. Ships, gear, talents, and spawn points are generated based on your personality and past life experience. No appeals accepted. Yeah, right. Total BS. Someone spawns with a weapon, I get nothing but bread. While you hoard bread, I hoard guns. You're my future food supply. Anyone consider this? The guy with the cannon might be near monsters, and you're not. Elias Graves closed the manual and finally began searching the room. His eyes settled on the skeleton by the table, the flintlock pistol still clutched in its hand. It glimmered faintly with a blue outline. Name: waterlogged rusted flintlock pistol. Type: relic. Quality: superior. Description: once a masterpiece crafted by a gunsmith, but has been submerged for far too long. Severely rusted. Has a 50% chance of firing successfully. Deals moderate damage to eldritch entities. This gun does not require ammunition. Automatically reloads every 1 minute. Ammo capacity 1. A superior grade item? Elias Graves' expression grew serious. Just as the system announcement had said, starting conditions were balanced. If he was granted such a powerful weapon, that could only mean one thing. His starting difficulty was hell tier. He shoved aside the skeleton on the desk. Beneath the bones was a piece of paper, rotted and yellowed. Only a few sentences could still be deciphered. Out of supplies on board. I have no choice but to try fishing. Lucky day. Caught a tiger grouper, enough to last 2 days. Heh, found an old flintlock pistol. It sounds weird, but it looks valuable. Then bloodstains. The final line was barely legible. What kind of thing lives in this sea? Elias Graves frowned and stood up, walking out of the captain's quarters. Outside was the upper deck. He looked up and finally took stock of the ship he was standing on. Name: the Nightmare. Level 1. Durability 300/300. Capacity 400 units. Speed 40 knots. Hull traits: a nightmare. Sleeping on board causes nightmares. Energy recovery rate -75%. Fisherman's curse. This vessel is cursed. Normal fish cannot be caught. Description: this ship has drifted across the seas for centuries. Now it welcomes its new master. Elias' expression darkened. It's a ghost ship. The hull was covered in barnacles and seaweed, clearly untouched for decades, maybe centuries. The wooden deck was slick with moisture, and every step let out a loud, creaking groan. He'd played enough horror games to know this kind of setting guaranteed monster spawn. Thankfully, after searching every nook and cranny, he found no signs of movement. Elias let out a long breath of relief. He had no desire to start this game by dueling some incomprehensible sea creature. He now understood the layout of his ship. Roughly 12 meters long, divided into a helm, captain's quarters, main deck, and cargo hold. The helm stood slightly elevated at the bow, offering a clear view ahead. Behind it lay the captain's quarters, a cramped space with a bed and a few pieces of rotted furniture. Then came the central deck, where a single tall mast stood.
And finally, at the stern, the cargo hold, leading into the ship's lower interior. Elias had already checked it. Completely empty. Not even a single bug. Only the suffocating smell of damp, moldy decay. No supplies at all. Well, it made sense. The nightmare had been adrift for who knows how long. If it had water and food, that would have been the real anomaly. Elias opened the logbook and returned to the world chat, hoping to gather more intel. Everyone was now showing off their ships. Most were average-looking vessels, but a few stood out. Name, Gale, Level 1. Durability, 800/800. Capacity, 500 units. Speed, 70 knots. Skill, riding the wind doubles ship speed for 5 minutes. Description, you'll never even catch a whiff of its exhaust. Trust me, that's the fastest ship so far. The rest of the blank slate ships had speeds between 30 and 40 knots. Bigger ships had more durability, but were slower. Elias's nightmare was on the faster side, relatively speaking. Then came this. Name, Sakura, Level 1. Durability, 1000/1000. Capacity, 1000 units. Speed, 35 knots. Skill, radiant mutation. The cherry blossom tree on the deck emits mutagenic light, occasionally altering crew member attributes. May trigger evolution. Description, let's hope your crew still looks human by the end. The channel went silent for a few seconds. Haha, check out my ship. I feel like I'm evolving. WRYYYYY. Are you sure you're not mutating? Sakura, huh? You better stay out of my way, or I swear I'll shove my cannon straight up your. That last one came from the Iron Will, the heavily armed warship. He had removed anonymity and even posted a screenshot. A massive steel dreadnought, overloaded with weapons. 20 cannons per side. A floating fortress of firepower. But then someone remembered its top speed was only 5 knots. And the chat burst into laughter again. You won't survive the night, Baka. You wait. I'll find you. The chat quickly devolved into curses and censored profanity. Huh. Seems the system auto-translates every message into your native language. Elias quietly typed a message. Count me in. Then he kept scrolling until he saw something interesting. Has anyone tried fishing yet? Shoo, I'm fishing now. Now that I can fish, I kinda don't want to go back. I fish once a week. One fish lasts a week. Just set up my fishing spot. Bro, your ship's moving. You can't set up a fishing spot. Are you dumb? What? You could have told me earlier. My black bread. Guess what I just caught? A bottle of mineral water. Elias's eyes lit up. You can fish for fresh water? That's huge. He looked toward the deck. There was indeed a fishing rod lying there. Name, moldy barnacle-covered fishing rod. Type tool. Quality, fine. Description, trust me, you won't like what this thing catches. Decreases chances of catching normal fish. Slightly increases odds of reeling in unknown entities. That unknown catch might include freshwater too, Elias Graves speculated. But before fishing, he needed to adjust his ship's heading and speed. Currently without a specific destination, he planned to proceed straight ahead at full speed. Far in the distance, he saw a smudge of darkness on the horizon, probably the edge of the black fog. Sailing toward it seemed like the safest bet. Controlling the ship was easy, no technical skill required, all powered by magic. Simply placing his hand on the wheel allowed Elias to steer and adjust speed, or even operate onboard equipment like grappling hooks. The overall experience felt just like playing a sailing game, easier than driving a car. No need to study or train, he instantly felt one with the ship. The helm was located at the front deck, letting him steer while maintaining a clear view of the sea ahead. Otherwise, it would be impossible for a single person to operate this ship. As for the ship's power source, Elias glanced at the mast, where a few ragged scraps of cloth fluttered. He decided not to think too hard about that and focused on collecting floating debris instead. Rotten wood +1, rotten wood +1, tattered cloth +1, rotten wood +1. New notifications kept popping up in his sailing log. The gameplay was a bit like Gold Miner, but the targets were floating objects. Collected items were converted into resources and stored in the cargo hold, viewable in the log. Each piece of rotten wood had a small chance of becoming 1 unit of lumber. Cloth scraps could become fabric. By his estimate, the success rate was less than 10%. Roughly 10 pieces of debris yielded 1 unit of material. If he focused on grabbing higher quality flotsam, the odds improved slightly. After collecting over 100 floating items, Elias had gathered 5 units of wood and 3 units of cloth in 3 hours. Not efficient, but passable. It was a skill-based task. As he got better, his efficiency would improve. These materials could be used to upgrade the ship. Upgrading his ship to level 2 required wood times 200, cloth times 100, captain's remains. He already knew what the remains referred to, the skeleton in the captain's cabin, so he couldn't discard it. Gathering this much material would likely take over a week, and that's just for a level 1 ship. Future upgrades would surely require more. The inclusion of human remains in the upgrade process was unsettling. Elias realized that special ships might require unique materials. He quickly checked the chat logs and was proven right. Basic ships needed fewer materials. Wood times 100, cloth times 50, no skeletons required. As for the iron will, it required steel to upgrade. Damn, where am I supposed to get steel out here? Upgrade my ass. Everybody knows iron sinks. It's all at the bottom of the sea. Fishermen can catch anything. I just hooked 1 unit of steel. What? Buying steel at high prices. Whoever gives me steel, I'll take you as my underling. Bakayaro, focus on surviving tomorrow first. The black fog's catching up to you. Sakura ship, right? Don't hide behind anonymity. If I catch you, you're dead meat. Elias closed the log. Apparently, special ships weren't all sunshine and roses. Their upgrade requirements were brutal. He grabbed his fishing rod and got ready. Today's weather: clear skies, no clouds. A perfect day for fishing location. Sea of origin sunlight remaining. 5 hours temperature. 20 degrees sea wind. Level 1. Elias took a deep breath and checked his status. Sanity. 100 out of 100 stamina. 90 out of 100. He used the log's basic crafting function to make a crude spear using 5 units of wood, just in case. He also holstered the flintlock pistol at his waist. If he hooked something big, he might need force to subdue it. As for bait, the log confirmed that none was needed, likely due to system magic. However, adding bait would increase efficiency. Everything was ready. Time to fish. Elias cast his line. The hook arced through the air and plopped into the sea. He wasn't great at fishing, but time was on his side. 15 minutes passed. Not even a twitch from the float. Elias opened the world chat to see how the other anglers were doing. How'd you know I got a bite? 100 cm. Attached photo of a giant bass. F*** off. Nobody asked. I hooked a monster too. How big? Huge. Couldn't reel it in. Then what's the point of saying anything? Elias scrolled up and found an interesting message. When you're fishing, be careful. If you sense something off, cut the line immediately. No penalties unless you lose your rod. The line regenerates infinitely. Someone in the chat reassured. So what did you reel in? Looked like a humanoid shape. I cut the line immediately. Must have been a mermaid. You just released your future wife. That thing wasn't right. Just look at my fishing rod. Name: refined carbon fiber fishing rod. Type: tool. Quality: fine. Description: a superb rod, good enough to pass down to your grandson. Increases fishing success rate, reduces stamina consumption, and slightly raises the chance of hooking unknown entities. Lucky bastard. Why's my rod just a plain whiteboard grade thing? You should be grateful. I'm a veteran angler and I don't even have a rod yet. Still using the damn grappling hook. A basic fishing rod takes 10 units of wood to craft. You're jealous way too soon. Check out my boat. Vessel, the fisherman level. 1 durability, 345 to 400 capacity, 500 unit speed, 25 knots, air hull skills. None. Description. It's not sturdy. It has no skills, but it does make you feel like a fisherman. Once people saw the 25-knot fishing boat, half of them stopped being jealous. Why's your boat's durability down? I just hauled up a 3-meter great white. Almost got swallowed whole. Now, when something big tugs the line, I cut it immediately. You never know who'll be eating who once it's on board. Elias Graves continued scrolling. Turns out, fishing didn't just pull up fish. People were reeling in bizarre things, treasure chests, freshwater, even other oddities. I caught a treasure chest. What's inside? Secret. You all are reeling in fish. I haven't seen anything. So far, I've caught a sock, a bottle of mineral water, and a balloon. Mineral water? Wait, that balloon, was it clean?
From all these chats, Elias gathered one key truth. Fishing here could reel up the unimaginable, sometimes even monsters. He braced himself. If anything looked wrong, cut the line. No hesitation. Minutes later, the float trembled. Something was biting. Elias held his breath. He had a spear. He had a pistol. As long as it was just a fish, he could handle it. The float dipped now. He yanked hard, eyes fixed on the blue surface of the sea. No massive shadows emerged. The thing came up almost too easily, weightless in his hands. What landed on the deck was a fish no thicker than a thumb, but not just a fish. Roughly 3 centimeters long. Its body was streamlined like a sardine, except it had 4 long, pale legs, each 5 centimeters, splayed out from its sides. It stood on deck, upright, on its legs. Elias stared at it. It stared back. This is a fish? He was stunned. You've discovered an aberrant fish. Sanity -2. A second later, the thing tried to scurry away on its 4 limbs. Elias reflexively slammed it with his spear, collapsed with a faint crack. Name: long-legged sardine. Type: food. Description: a species from the abyss. It said those who eat it may grow long legs. Edible, non-toxic, tastes great, but consuming it requires courage. It may cost you sanity. Elias picked it up. It weighed less than 100 grams. Its 4 pale limbs were broken, their bone structure unervingly similar to a human's. The flesh was elastic. This is edible? Elias suddenly remembered his ship's unique curse. Cursed angler, unable to catch normal fish. He snapped a photo of the fish using his logbook and posted it to the World Channel. Has anyone else caught a fish like this? It caused a storm of reactions. What the hell is that thing? Sanity -8 just from looking at it. You call that a fish? Why would you hurt my eyes like this? Sanity -10. Blocked. Blocked. Never again. Never. Elias was instantly blocked by over 1 billion people. Most reported a loss in sanity. Then, unexpectedly, someone messaged him privately. Is the sea around your ship turning black? You'd better leave quickly, or something might come for you. Elias glanced at the ocean beneath his ghost ship. Clear, cerulean blue. He rolled his eyes slightly. No, my ship is a ghost ship. Whoa, seriously? Nice. Add me as a friend. Friend request. Amos Cutter, captain of the Gale Reaper. Elias accepted. No harm in making a friend. You probably shouldn't post pictures like that again. My sanity's at 54. Any lower and I might go insane. Got it. Elias now understood the seriousness of this sea, but he still needed food and fresh water, so he kept fishing. You caught a long-legged sardine. You caught another long-legged sardine. You caught a limping long-legged sardine. Shit. Your sanity-1. Elias Graves suspected the system had done it on purpose. Given him a broken ship just to mess with him. A normal person would go insane fishing here for less than a day. After 3 hours, he had caught 8 long-legged sardines. Some were missing a leg. But fresh water? He hadn't seen a single drop. Where was the promised mineral water? Without food, a human could survive over a week. But without water, death came in 3 to 5 days. Unless one drank their own urine. Unless absolutely necessary, Elias Graves refused to go that far. He made up his mind. Grabbing one of the long-legged sardines, he skewered it onto the hook as bait and cast the line again. This time he fished for over an hour. The sky had begun to dim. The first night was fast approaching. Elias Graves was starving now. The scattered sardines on the deck were starting to look edible. But eating them would almost certainly drop his sanity. And there was no stove on board, he'd have to eat them raw. Just as he was about to give up and retreat to the captain's quarters, the bobber twitched. Elias instantly perked up. He yanked the rod. A black fish emerged from the depths. This one had no legs, only sharp spines. Its body was coated in a mucous membrane that burst as soon as it hit the deck, releasing a foul-smelling black pus. This fish is disgusting. Your sanity-2. Before Elias could stab it with his spear, the fish died on its own. Name: Cysts pine puffer. Type: food. Description: a creature from the abyss. His bodily fluids are highly toxic. No sane person would eat it unless they had a death wish. Toxic, Elias muttered. He didn't dare touch it with his hands. He pierced it with his spear, tossing it into the hold. For good measure, he stabbed it a few more times until the spearhead was dyed black. He now had a poisoned spear. Darkness was closing in, less than an hour of daylight left. The system had warned him. Danger came at night. Elias had no intention of fishing after dusk. But just as he was packing up his gear and heading back, he spotted something strange drifting along the sea surface. It was a box. More specifically, a treasure chest no larger than a briefcase. Floating alongside the nightmare, Elias's heart skipped a beat. He rushed to the helm, turned the ship, and steered toward it. An opportunity like this couldn't be missed. Using the grappling claw, he reached for the chest. But the thing moved like it was alive. Slippery, evasive, dodging every attempt. After considerable effort, he finally managed to snag it and hurried into the ship to inspect it. Name: soaked rottenwood chest. Type: treasure chest. Description: probably not the kind of treasure you were hoping for. Elias stayed cautious. Holding his flintlock pistol in one hand and his spear in the other, he pried the lid open. Inside was a severed human head. No hair, grayish skin, coated in a layer of mucus. As soon as it was exposed to air, the head reacted. Its cloudy eyes opened, and it began to speak. "Sir, may I borrow a moment of your time to speak to you about the omniscient and almighty one?" You can't comprehend its words. Sanity-5. Elias's scalp tingled, and his body trembled slightly. "Sir, may I?" In the next instant, the head leapt out. Elias finally saw its true form. An octopus with a human head where the bulb should be, and a mass of writhing tentacles below. It lunged toward him, beak-like mouth wide open to bite. But what met it instead was bang! A flash at the muzzle. The shot did not misfire. The blast echoed like a deep, monstrous growl. The creature exploded into chunks. Hearing the strange gunshot, your sanity-3, Elias felt a rush of nausea boiling in his gut. He quickly opened his status screen. Sanity: 88/100. Stamina: 62/100. Vitality: 100/100. Apparently, losing sanity interfered with mental stability. Fortunately, Elias had a high mental stat, willpower like forged steel. He steadied his breathing and inspected the creature's remains. Name: cephaloskull. Type: food/material. Description: abyssal species. Don't try to understand what it says. Its words are just a distraction before the attack. But if you do understand it, well, good luck. Edible. Also useful as crafting material. Mildly toxic. Effects when consumed. Strength +1, Constitution +1, Spirit -1, Sanity -20. Note: attributes cannot exceed mortal limits. Max for mortals is 10. So it had some value. Elias gathered the fleshy remains, then returned to check the rest of the chest. It also held some rusted coins. Elias picked one up. It had a seashell on one side and a cartoonish octopus head on the other. You acquired 100 seashell coins. That was it. Nothing more. No promised freshwater. And the currency? Useless. Night was falling fast. Elias dragged the captain's bones into the hold and returned to the captain's cabin. He wasn't planning to fish or scavenge after dark. Because the system had warned him of danger at night, he didn't want to take any risks from the start. As for freshwater, he could keep trying tomorrow. And food? At worst, he'd eat the long-legged sardines. To survive, Elias Graves didn't mind eating strange things, as long as they provided protein and energy. He never gave up easily. Not before and not now. He lay on that old, worn bed, tossing and turning. The mattress was damp and smelled moldy. Uncomfortable as hell. But he had no other choice. The night was pitch black. Only faint moonlight filtered down, and besides the crashing waves and howling wind, there was nothing else. Elias Graves couldn't fall asleep. He opened the global chat channel and started reading. Grappling hooks can snag treasure chests. He sent out this piece of info. It wasn't worth much, since anyone who saw a treasure chest would try to grab it anyway. But sending it out earned goodwill and sometimes more useful information. True, I caught a wooden resource chest before. It gave me 1 unit of steel, 20 units of wood, and 20 units of cloth. Then you'll upgrade your ship fast. Lucky you. Heh. I caught a bronze gear chest and got a treasure. A blood-stained pearl necklace. Type: relic. Quality: good. Description: once a bride's dowry. Its owner is still searching for it. Wearing it grants agility +1, spirit -1, max sanity -5. I don't think that's much of a treasure. You're just jealous. That sucks. My ship has no lights. I probably need to upgrade. No blankets either. Freezing to death here. I can't sleep. Has anyone noticed the waves getting bigger? The bigger the waves, the better the fish, brothers. Let's fish. Night fishing +1. +2. Do you guys hear singing? It sounds so beautiful. No way, don't scare me. Singing on the open sea. I saw her. A beautiful woman singing. So sexy. She's waving at me. Bro, watch your sanity. That's a siren, damn. She's so beautiful. She's swimming toward me. Bro, get into the captain's cabin and lock the door. He's been bewitched. Bro, you there? It's late. Don't scare me. Hello. No more messages from that person. Elias Graves frowned. The system's warning wasn't baseless. He listened carefully.
No singing.
He got up, pushed open the captain's cabin door. The ghost ship's door was old and rotten. The lock was broken long ago, just decoration. He cracked the door open and peered outside, using the moonlight to scan the surroundings. After a few minutes, confident there was no movement, he rushed out, went to the bow, and took the helm. He slowed the ship to 10 knots. Lowering speed reduced the chance of encountering monsters. If something attacked while he was asleep, he'd have no idea how he died. But staying still wasn't a good option either. 10 knots felt just right, keeping distance from the black fog trailing behind. After everything was settled, he returned to the captain's cabin, placed his flintlock pistol on the bedside, and leaned his spear against the wall. He kept watching the chat channel until late into the night before finally drifting off, with faint whispers lingering in his ears. His brow furrowed and sweat dotted his forehead. He was having a nightmare. The first night at sea was destined to be restless. Elias Graves tossed and turned for an unknown time, cold sweat streaming down his face. He dreamed. Meanwhile, In the nightmare's cabin, the captain's skeletal remains stirred. Bones trembled, and inside the cracked skull, a soul fire flickered. Creak, creak, the bones rubbed and clicked. The skeleton stood up. It walked out of the cabin, slowly approaching the captain's room at the bow. Gently, it pushed open the door. Inside, Elias Graves was still asleep, occasionally shifting his side. The corpse stared at Elias Graves for a long moment. Then its gaze fell on the barnacle-encrusted fishing rod nearby. It walked over, took the rod, and without hesitation, stepped outside to the spacious central deck to start fishing. Minutes later, something bit. A pale, swollen hand emerged from the sea, clutching the fishing line. Elias Graves was still dreaming, a nightmare. Ah! He suddenly woke up, touching his abdomen, relieved to find himself unharmed. Just moments ago, he had dreamt of a bloated, drowned corpse silently pushing open the door and entering. The nightmare was so vivid, it felt like he had seen it with his own eyes. He remembered the sound of its footsteps. Slap, slap, like a wet mop hitting the floor. When Elias Graves woke up, the drowned corpse was already right in front of him. Without hesitation, he grabbed the flintlock pistol beside the bed and fired at the corpse. Click, the gun misfired. In the next instant, the drowned corpse pinned him down on the bed, turning him into easy prey. It tore open his chest, and bright red, scalding entrails spilled everywhere. You experienced death, brutally killed and devoured. Sanity-15. Phew! Luckily, it was just a dream. Elias Graves let out a long breath. Suddenly, he noticed the captain's cabin door was actually open. He immediately gripped his flintlock pistol tightly. Is that the wind? No way. There was barely any wind at sea today. Slap, slap. Familiar footsteps came closer. A swollen, drowned corpse appeared in the doorway. It looked like it had soaked in the sea for a long time, bloated and stinking rotten. It wore tattered sailor's clothes hanging in shreds, covered in seaweed. Now, it stared at Elias Graves with pale, lifeless eyes. Fuck! Seeing an unknown creature, your sanity drops by 5. Elias Graves cursed and immediately fired. Click. The gun jammed again. The drowned corpse seemed to retain some awareness. Seeing the pistol misfire, it grinned widely. With only a few teeth left, a crab crawled out of its mouth. This scene was just like the nightmare, so Elias Graves was prepared. As the gun went silent, he swung the flintlock like a club, striking the corpse's head hard. Taking advantage of the moment, Elias Graves grabbed the spear nearby and charged at the corpse. He stabbed the rotten neck, then rammed his body forward. But he wasn't trying to kill it, he just wanted to get out of the captain's cabin. Only by escaping this cramped space and reaching the deck could he stand a chance against the drowned corpse. The sprint gave him momentum, and combined with his weight, Elias Graves barely squeezed past the corpse. The foul, rotten stench almost made him vomit. Disgusting stench, Sanity-5. Elias Graves wasn't strong enough to knock the corpse down or hold it down. Without stopping, he ran to the bow deck. Here, he had enough space to maneuver and fight the drowned corpse. He glanced back. As expected, the corpse was bloated and clumsy. No match for Elias Graves in speed. I can win! Elias Graves grew excited, adrenaline surging, breath quickening. There was a raised platform with the ship's wheel on the bow deck. He just needed to imitate the ancient sages, using the tall wheel as cover, circling around to shake off the corpse's pursuit. At the same time, he counted down silently in his mind. 48, 47. The wooden spear pierced the corpse's neck, but it kept chasing Elias Graves as if nothing was wrong. 3, 2. Elias Graves stopped circling, escaped the corpse's pursuit, and turned to run back to the captain's cabin. At the door, he picked up his flintlock, raised it, and aimed carefully. Only a few meters away, and the target was so fat, there was no way he could miss. Just don't jam again. Bang! The gunshot was deafening, like a piercing scream that made one sick. Strange gunshot. Sanity-2. The shot was slightly off, but it hit. The corpse's skull was shattered on one side, black pus oozing onto the floor. Staggered, losing balance, and fell heavily forward. I won. Elias Graves' tense nerves relaxed a bit. He walked toward the corpse, ready to retrieve the spear on the floor. But just then, the supposedly dead drowned corpse suddenly moved again. Half its skull was smashed, yet it still moved. Its pale hand clawed at Elias Graves' ankle with great force, digging into flesh and leaving scratch marks. Damn, still not dead. Elias Graves immediately snapped to attention, his eyes blazing with fury. He grabbed the spear and stabbed the corpse again. The spear went straight through the break in the skull. After the strike, the corpse's grip weakened. It seemed to work. But for some reason, at the moment of death, the corpse turned its head to look at Elias Graves, its eyes full of malice. Then its belly began to rapidly swell. Self-destruct.
Elias Graves reacted instantly, falling backward.
Boom! A muffled explosion. Rotten flesh and shattered bones sprayed everywhere, like a rain of blood. The corpse exploded loudly. Luckily, it was lying face down, so most of the force hit the deck. Elias Graves fell back just in time, avoiding flying bones and gore. But his feet were injured. A sharp pain shot through his left foot. 2 teeth pierced through his shoe sole, stabbing his soul. His right arm was scratched by unknown bone fragments, but the wound was shallow. As for the falling blood and gore, it was no longer dangerous, just revolting as it dripped down Elias Graves. Corpse fragments nauseate you. Sanity-2. Elias Graves struggled to his feet, prying off the severed hand clinging to his right ankle, checking his status. Status: injured. On the humanoid icon, both left and right feet had turned yellow. Sanity: 55/100. Stamina: 40/100. HP: 91/100. He slipped off his left shoe, gritting his teeth against the pain, and pulled out the teeth embedded in his soul. Luckily, the force wasn't like a bullet. After piercing the shoe sole, it only just broke the skin. Otherwise, it would have been deadly. Enduring the pain, Elias Graves stood up and looked at the drowned corpse, then sucked in a sharp breath. On the deck, only a broken skeleton remained. The entire spine was missing, probably blasted into the sea. The ribs were all embedded like arrows deep into the deck, stabbing into the wood. That explosion had considerable force. He had just been in the least affected direction. If he'd been pierced by one of those rib arrow spikes, the consequences would have been catastrophic. Meanwhile, new info appeared on his log about the drowned corpse. Name: Drowned One. Description: an unfortunate soul who drowned at sea, risen again fueled by grudges against the living. Can be used in the Monster Gotcha machine. Monster Gotcha machine? What the hell is that? Elias Graves was puzzled. Calming down, he noticed something troubling. The drowned one had appeared in front of the captain's cabin, and Elias Graves had just spotted it. But what had opened the captain's cabin door? Before the drowned one appeared, the door was already open. Thinking this, every hair on his body stood on end. Footsteps approached behind him, then a sharp pain struck his left shoulder. Something had stabbed him. There was something else on the ship. Elias Graves realized too late. A fishing rod jabbed into his left shoulder, piercing deep into flesh. He immediately sprinted forward, glancing back while clutching the wound with his right hand. In front of him was a skeleton, half the skull missing, a grim green soul fire burning inside. It was the captain's skeleton, alive, holding the fishing rod stained red with Elias Graves' blood at the tip. It looked at Elias Graves, jaw repeatedly opening and closing, as if mocking him. "You bastard!" Elias Graves cursed, eyes blazing with fury. Ambushed by the undead. Sanity-10. If sanity drops below 50, you enter a frenzy state, immune to most mental debuffs, gaining +2 strength, +1 agility, +1 constitution, but -2 spirit. You ignore pain, don't tire, become fearless and brave until sanity recovers. Mental debuffs include charm, mind control, fear, despair, etc. P.S. When stamina hits 0, HP will be consumed instead. Frenzy's max stats cap at 10, cannot surpass mortal limits. Elias Graves raised his pistol and fired at the skeleton. Click, the gun jammed again. The skeleton wielded the fishing rod like a spear and charged. Though Elias Graves felt no pain, his injured foot hindered him somewhat. Circling a 2-meter-long fishing spear while injured was too risky. One mistake, and he'd be impaled. After a brief moment of thought, Elias Graves switched tactics. Instead of retreating, he charged straight in. He threw his spear, hitting the skeleton dead center, lodging it into its bones, freezing it briefly. Seizing the opportunity, he closed in for melee. He still had a weapon, a blunt one. Grasping the flintlock barrel turned the gun into a short hammer, perfect for smashing skulls. He raised the flintlock high, smashing at the skeleton's cracked skull, aiming for the soulfire inside. But the skeleton reacted fast, reaching out to block. It seemed terrified of the gun. Dropping the fishing rod, it tried to grab the flintlock with both hands. Elias Graves wouldn't give it up so easily. They grappled for the gun. The skeleton's strength was slightly less than Elias Graves' frenzy state, probably a 4. But in the struggle, it was hard for Elias Graves to land effective blows. If the gun accidentally fired, hitting himself would be fatal. He needed a plan. Even in frenzy, Elias Graves was clear-headed and quickly came up with an idea. It wanted the flintlock, right? Then he'd give it to it on his terms. After more wrestling, Elias Graves timed it perfectly and pulled the trigger. Click, the gun jammed again. He immediately discarded the flintlock. Just as expected, the skeleton's attention shifted mostly to the gun. Elias Graves slipped free and ran toward the cabin. When the skeleton arrived, it only saw a dim figure inside the cabin. That was Elias Graves, sitting in darkness, hands clutching a heap of unknown bloody flesh, gnawing madly. The skeleton pulled the trigger, no response, still cooling down. From bow to stern, only a dozen meters separated them. Both had run here, so the flintlock was still cooling. A pistol that can't fire was no different from a hammer. Elias Graves charged forward, his mouth covered in dark slime, eyes bloodshot. You swallowed the octopus head, strength +1, constitution +1, spirit -1, sanity -20, lasting 1 minute.